Good evening, and a very warm welcome to Depot. Welcome on the live stream as well. We are very delighted to welcome you to tonight's artist talk with Zhanina Marinova, Anna Loureiro, Magdalena Meyer, and Anna Valentina Ennemoser. You just opened the exhibition Immersing into the Toxicity Spectrum, Unveiling Layers and Insights at FRAU schafft Raum. I'm sure Anna will tell more about the room, which is a very specific space. And we are really happy that you accepted our invitation and to talk about the exhibition and on the room. So we have a live stream. You won't be on the picture, but if later for questions and comments you take the microphone, your voice could be heard. And if you don't want it, just you don't need to use the microphone. Then we try it, and we will repeat the question, and it's not on the stream. Anna Valentina Ennemoser will moderate the evening. She is the curator of the room, and I'm going to pass the word to you. The floor is yours. But I am suggesting let's welcome the speakers with an applause.
Thank you so much, Eva, and team of Depot for having us and for the invitation and for the technical support, which is also very important. We are very happy to be here and to talk with you about violence against women, about red flags, and about art. And Eva already introduced us. I am Anna Valentina Ennemoser, the curator of FRAU schafft Raum. Next to me is Lene Meyer from STOP, Stadtteile ohne Partnerschaftsgewalt, Neighborhoods Without Partner Violence, which is a very important NGO and active in a lot of districts. We will talk about it later. And then I am here with two great artists. Eva already mentioned the exhibition. And before we start to talk about the exhibition and also about STOP and violence and femicides, I would like to tell you something about FRAU schafft Raum. I try a very brief history of the project. It's now almost 4 years ago since the tobacconist Nadine was attacked by her ex-partner at Nussdorfer Str. number 4. He poured petrol over her, set the tobacconist, the shop, and the person in a light, and after that he locked the door and left. And that sounds very brutal, and it was. And but I would also like to tell you that there were people passing by, and when they noticed the smoke, when they were passing the street or waiting at the tram, they took a shopping trolley from the supermarket next door, threw it to the door and opened it and freed the woman, who was already severely burned. An ambulance from Samariterbund was nearby, and but all of that didn't really help, because a few weeks later the woman died because of this brutal attack. And I think this incident really shocked the district, but also the city, and I think the whole of Austria, because it was such a brutal attack on a woman, 35 years old, in the middle of the day, on the very busy streets at work, and that's very unusual. We will hear later a little bit about femicides, and actually they are committed at home, which is also very brutal, because that's where the woman should feel safe. And because of that incident in March 2021, the District Council of Alstergrund, with the Human Rights Office of the City of Vienna and the insurance group Unica, they have decided that this should not be just a shop again, but it should be a place of remembrance, and there should not just be a small memory, a plaque or a sign or something. It should be an active place, and that's why we did FRAU schafft Raum. So the leader of the district, Saya Ahmad, her deputy, Christian Sapetschnik, Stephanie Hundorf from the Human Rights Office, and our architect, Laura Frediani, worked very intensively on the project and continue to do so together with me. So that's the short story of FRAU schafft Raum. We combine the place of remembrance with contemporary art, with changing exhibitions. And but the case of Nadine, the tobacconist, was not a isolated incident. It's a big problem in our society with the violence against women. Now we have the 16 days against gender-based violence. So a lot of people are aware in these days, and an initiative that is very aware of the topic and talking a lot about it is Stop. So Leni, you are very into this issue. Can you tell us about the situation in Austria with violence against women and also the femicides?
I think it's fine. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I think this was a very obvious case, and it was present in the media a lot, and generally femicides are like the top of the massive violence against women. So I think very important is not only to see this top of the pyramid or iceberg, or the top of this violence, but also see the base. So our project is about making violence visible, to encourage people to not to be afraid for asking for help, also encouraging the public and the neighbors for stepping in and offering help, even though it will not happen maybe at the first place that women will leave their abusers. Yeah, so that's the Stop project is a project. It's a mixture of violence prevention and neighborhood work. We try to get the people to know, to encourage them, yeah, and to take the topic to public and take the fear of talking about it, because it's important to talk about it. It's not an issue of privacy, it's an issue of public and all of us. So, yeah.
And do you have some numbers for us, you know, some statistics, how many women are affected by violence at home or in partnerships?
Yeah, well, I think it's very well known. Every third woman in Austria once in her lifetime at least is affected by physical and or sexual violence. By the way, this is an average in Europe, this number, with some exceptions. Violence at home, like physical violence at home, I think it's about 11%, 16% physical violence in intimate partnerships, 36% psychological violence in intimate partnerships. So these are numbers, and in Austria also we don't have a centralized data collection of this. So you have numbers that count this aspect and that aspect, and also this is a big problem. So I can tell you some numbers now, which is only the visible part of it, because most of the violence happening is not even recognized, not named, not visible, not charged. So at first you have to get to know your own boundaries, to realize it's violence, then you have to name it, then you have to say stop, it's violence to me. So this is it's a process. It's not very easy to have very specific numbers on this. I mean, yeah, it could be better, this collection of data.
Okay, and that's the same situation for the femicides. Shall I, or yeah, just tell us about the femicides.
Okay, yeah. Last year we had 26 femicides in Austria, which is in comparison to the inhabitants a very high number. This year we already have 27. So yeah, and still also we have cases of very hard violence, like 45, I think it's until now it's 41 cases of very massive violence that almost caused the death of the woman. So it's also important to notice that when it didn't work out. So yeah.
And the counting is done by the Autonomous Austrian Women Shelters. STOP is a project of the Autonomous Women Shelters, and I think that's also very important to mention, that there is no public institution that counts the femicides or the violence against women, and that there should be something done. And we have a very common situation in other countries in Europe. Anna and Zhanina, you studied in Vienna. Anna studied at the Academy of Fine Arts, Zhanina studied at Angewandte, and you both live in Vienna, but you grow up in Bulgaria and in Portugal to get not just a local view, but some European perspective on it. Can you tell us something about the situation in these two countries? Whoever wants to start.
Good evening. Yeah, exactly. I grew up in Portugal, and I spent my teenage years also in Portugal, but most of my adult life it's in Austria. So since I am most of the time in Vienna, my contact with the reality in Portugal is not that much, but of course I keep up with the news, and also in specific with this situation. And what I notice is domestic violence or violence against women, no matter in which type of forms, it's still not very outspoken, and with not so much highlight like other types of crimes. And I, with a small research that I did the previous days to this talk, I was very shocked with the high number of domestic violence. Also, having consideration these 16 days that we are now assimilating. And I learned that in Portugal, the domestic violence is the biggest crime. There's no numbers that compares to it. It's extremely high. Like I have here some numbers. It's at the moment 23,465 cases just in 2023, and there's no number even close to it. Portugal
is... Excuse me, how many people live in Portugal?
10 million. So this is, and those are confirmed cases. It's not reports, or it's really official numbers. And having consideration that Portugal, it's a country with a very low criminality, these numbers are very scary. And I did also small research about the femicide, because I think this terminology femicide, it's somehow, I would say it's not new, but it started to be used in a more strong way in the recent years. And I think in Portugal it's still quite a new term, because I found a newspaper article from last month which reports the number of femicides from 1st of January until 15th of November, so very recent. I mean, I can very short read. So it says, according to the Observatory of Murdered Women, femicide is on the rise and accounts for 80% of the cases of murdered women in the country. In 2024, 25 women were murdered in Portugal between 1st of January and 15th of November. The number is similar to the same period of last year, but there is an important difference. The number of murders catalogued as femicide that is motivated by gender violence has grown. This year, 20 of the 25 cases of murdered women are related to femicide, an increase of 33% on the previous year. Of those 20 cases of femicide, 16 occurred in an intimate context, and of these 15 were committed by men and one by women. According to the data presented, 12 of those cases occurred in the context of intimacy in current relationships, while 4 occurred in the context of relationships that have already ended. In 8 of these cases of femicide in an intimate context, there were children in common between the offender and the victim, and in 3 of them the children were minor. Of the other 4 femicide cases, 3 are related to non-intimate family situation, and 1 occurred in the context of sexual violence. And half of the cases were already new before. So according to the report, half of the femicide could have been prevented with timely action, because there had already been previous violence and it was known by family members, neighbors, or friends. 6 of the 20 cases had already been identified by the authorities because there had been reported to the police, and 3 of these cases there were even death reports, so which is already a huge red flag and a reason for more tracking and concern. Furthermore, 3 of the perpetrators had already a criminal record, including domestic violence, and in one of the cases there was even a history of femicide of an ex-girlfriend. So this is currently the situation now, and the age of the victims, the majority were over 33 years old, and the perpetrator's age is between 51 and 64. And I don't know how it's in Austria or in other countries, but in some cases there are even because in some cases, some of the offenders committed suicide after the act. 3 attempted, and 12 are in the pre-trial detention. So this is the situation there, which I think in terms of numbers are not very different from Austria. So I think this is from what I heard and from what I read, it's a general issue in all Europe. It's not specific of a country, it's not specific of a culture, whatever. It's something very general, and it can happen everywhere with every people with studies, without studies, it doesn't matter. It's very common to everybody, and the numbers in Europe are increasing, and there's also an association in Portugal which does a very important job called APAV, which to English translation is Portuguese Association for Victim Support, and they help victims of that are unfortunately victims of different types of violence, and unfortunately domestic violence and sexual violence still the highest, with the highest percentage. And they also said in one of their statistics and studies that the numbers of reports increased, so comparing with last year. So this means that there's also now maybe more awareness and conscious that there are associations or places that they can go to report, but these, the number's still very, very high there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I also think that the awareness everywhere is getting better because of, I also think the possibilities we have today with online information and communication. So I think that also has an impact. Zhanina, let's go from west to east.
Hello. Yes, I would say that in Bulgaria the situation is also very similar, with the difference that the laws there and the law system there is still very, very complicated, and which makes things even more like not so transparent at all as everywhere, but like we're still fighting even like the ratification of the Istanbul Convention, which is actually protecting women and children's rights, and that's still a huge issue there, since the political situation in Bulgaria, it's also very complicated. So that's just like as point number one in the general situation, I would say. And in terms of numbers, what I could collect and see, which really shocked me, is that till November this year, the reported signals of domestic violence were like 40,000, above 40,000. And this is a country of 6,350,000 people, which I think the number is very high. These are like this reported signals, not the ones that they went to the court. And in terms of the law system, recently they changed some laws. So if before a case was going to the court, it was only if it was reported already three or more times to the police. So then it will go to the court, which to me sounds really extreme and very bad, and like already it's an absurd, because then they're actually protecting not the victims, but they're protecting the perpetrators, which I don't understand personally. So, and if before that law change, the cases per year were between 700 or 800, which went to the court. Now they immediately, like, after that happened in August last year, like to the end of the year, the cases were like 2,200, like, because, and this is a small step in a way, but actually a huge, because that changes the situation and the awareness a lot. And there are some significant cases, and most of the cases actually of femicides, not of domestic violence, but of femicides in Bulgaria are either done by the son of the victim or the partner, either the partner or former partner. And the numbers per year are very similar to Austria, I would say, the official ones, because there's also no data collection there, official one. It's approximately, and these are at least, like from what I could find from different websites, which are fighting the issue and like fighting for more awareness. They're always described as these are at least, like that's number, it's just at least what we know and what's official in a way.
Yeah, I think the problems in Europe are everywhere pretty much the same, but I think the solutions are very different. Leni, can you tell us something about better approaches than we have? Maybe Spain, I would say, yeah?
Yeah, everyone is talking about feminism in Spain. Actually, I did they, as I mentioned, the collection of data is very important, and also that it's a centralized system, and also that feminism is not seen as a movement of a minority or just women, but it seems that it became a matter of state and institutions and law and politics, and yeah, so they kind of have this feminist touch there. So what's the difference? They made a law in 2004 that made domestic violence or gender-based violence, that's the difference, a crime, and also men who would commit violence to a woman get higher punishments. You can, the pill, the after pill is for free, for example, and you can change your gender at the age of 16 very easily. These are some aspects. Also, they use electronic, like ankle tracking, I don't know, for really heavy cases of domestic violence to have this ban. What's it called in English? Sorry, my English is not the yellow from the egg. Betretungs- und Annäherungsverbot. The okay, this ban where the perpetrator is not allowed to come close to the victim. So in really heavy cases, they use this. And they, yeah, I'm not really sure what I personally think of it, but it seems that it's working. And for example, femicide rate is quite low in Spain. Like they had, I think I did some research, 47 million people living there, and they had 50 femicides last year. So in comparison to Austria with 10 million or around 10 million, this is lower, and it's going down constantly. So yeah, it's still a lot. But I think the consciousness is really something else than elsewhere.
Yeah, and the consciousness and awareness is what you create with Stopp with your colleagues. So maybe you want to tell us about some activities you do with Stopp.
Well, yes. For example, I'm here. The base of the project is to work with neighbors and civilians and people that are like not usually active in feminism or in the work with violence. So for us it's really important to gain this awareness. We do workshops, we take part in events, we do many cooperations like with FRAU schafft Raum to reach as many groups and bubbles and communities as it's possible. And what we do is also like having frequent meetings in our districts to try to work as local as possible to really reach the community. But also the idea of the Stop project is to reach like a bigger public to gain awareness also politically and through the media. So there are many layers, but the basic idea is the work with the neighbors, which is not always easy because people are very busy. People don't want to talk about violence in their spare time. They work all day. They don't have a lot of money, so they don't have, or many of them have, we all have, our resources are small. So yeah, why to have this in your free time? But that's also an approach. Of course, it's a serious topic, but it's also important to make it go outside with it, that everyone can talk about it and is not ashamed to tell about it, to talk about it and seek help.
Yeah, very important to talk about it like we do today. And now a question for all of you, I guess. How can art now try to help to reduce the violence against women? What is the role of art in all that? Whoever wants to. I can also start if you are very shy. Yeah? I think the big chance of art is to make it visible and to start a debate. And with FRAU schafft Raum, we have the situation that we are in a very public space. The Nussdorfer Str. number 4 is a very frequented street. There is the tram, there are a lot of shops, there are cafes, there are bakeries. And with the architecture, we reach a lot of people, and the room is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can look inside all the time, actually. And so people who are not very interested in art get in contact with art, and people who are not interested in all the issues with violence against women get in touch with it if they want to or they don't. So now with the red flags, it's very visible, and everyone is looking like this. So I think that's what art can do, just make it visible and start a debate. Nobody says, but I think, no?
Yeah, I agree with that, because in my perspective, of course, everything is very subjective in art, but in my point of view, with this type of problems, it's important to make it reachable to everybody from different backgrounds, and maybe try to engage them, which, as Lenny said, is not easy because sometimes people, or they have a lot of things to do, or they are shy, or they are even afraid of share their experiences, because there's also the trauma factor. Some people don't want to talk because of the trauma. It causes a lot of emotions, and it's always hard to remember it and to talk about it. But I think, yeah, it's important to use the public spaces where people usually passes, or to create this awareness and make people think and talk, and that's why also engaging with the associations that prevent violence against women, like Stop, and our collaboration was very important to materialize the project, to make it more approachable to the people, and to their contribution also be considered as well. So yeah, I think taking it out of the institutions is important, and make it more visible and wider to everybody.
I would say that I totally agree with Anna, because sometimes, exactly as domestic violence stays behind closed doors and it's invisible, it's in the same way, if a particular exhibition, it's being done in a gallery or institution, it can stay also behind, in a way, closed doors and be invisible for many people. And through public spaces, public interventions, art space, now memorial spaces such as FRAU, schafft, Raum, something way different is being done, such as exactly as even FRAU, schafft, Raum, it's a direct example where the door is open all the time, and everyone can decide to go in or to don't, or to have a look, and it's open every day, and it's just you can decide if you want to spend there 2 minutes, 30 minutes, or to come back every day, whatever it makes you to make you think about it. And it's really accessible to everyone, which to me it strikes me as a great thing and great approach also to everyone, not only people which have academic backgrounds or artistic backgrounds. It's just accessible to everyone. And I've noticed even during the weekend when I was there that families will come with kids, or just people just enter, and they will even engage with whoever is in the room, which is great, knowing also the tragic history of the place.
Yeah, I think we are already in the middle of your exhibition, so maybe we should continue to talk about that. We have seen some photos behind us where you already saw the exhibition, I guess, and but we don't see it now. So maybe Anna and Zhanina, can you very briefly describe what we see when we go to Nussdorfer Str. number 4 and stand in front of FRAU schafft Raum? So there is this window and the little display, and then when we enter.
Okay, so maybe
and also the people on the live stream haven't seen the picture, so maybe a short description.
Yeah, so the project, the main concept of the project is to bring awareness to what it can be one of the first phases of that can lead to a femicide, which are the red flags in relationships. So with our project, we intend that it's a first stage for something that it can end in a tragic way. So we wanted to make it open to all the women and make them parts of our project. So it's a project from women to women, but also to make everybody think about abusive and toxic relationships. And so we decided to collect sentences from women, and then Anna suggest to contact Stop. So then we make this contact, and we had 2 small boxes, and we gave one to Stop, which they took through their events. The box was circulating through the different events from Stop, and so a lot of sentences were collected there. And then we also left one of the boxes at the Bücherei Wien during one of Stop events as well. And that box was fixed and it stayed there. And then we also did online form where women could also give their input and write behavior that they consider to be a red flag in relationships. And after collecting the sentences, we did a selection process. All of the sentences were included. This, we want to make it very clear, because we want to include everybody, but because of logistic of the space is a small space, so we just could exhibit on a big textile 8 sentences. And then there's the big red flags in the space with different shades of red, starting from lighter to darker, which symbolizes the increasing of the intensity of the behaviors. And the sentences are also related to this intensity, so from less severe to the most severe. And outside of the space there's a showcase which reminds us a lot the boxes that we used previously for collecting the sentences. So inside that showcase there's the papers from related to the sentences where the people wrote them, and we thought that it could be interesting to include the object so people could see the real papers. And also the online participation is also included. And in front of those papers are the small red flags that we 3D printed to use for the main picture of the flyer. And then inside of the space, in the main room, there's the 8 big red flags and the big textile with 8 red flags and 8 sentences. So that's what the visitor can expect when they arrive.
Do you want to add something? But I think it was a very good description, yeah. Thank you, Anna. And the projects of FRAU schafft Raum are selected by an anonymized process. The jury changes every year, and what the jury really liked about your project was this participatory element of it, that you are collecting the flags from real women and not making something fictional up, and also that it's a project with prevention and solidarity in focus, because before we had also very important and great projects about with a hard focus on femicide and violence against women. And I think it's also very important to talk about where starts the violence and what can we do against it, or where should we be a little bit careful in our dating and relationship behavior. So I think that was really nice. And you also told us about the collaboration with Stop. Leni, do you want to add something about the collaboration? How was it for you with Stop? How was the event, stuff like that?
We really liked the idea. I mean, red flags are a topic we are, it's absolutely our thing. And for us it was also a possibility to have this interactive part at our events. So it was nice to have the box with us. We could talk to the people, we would explain the project, and yeah, it was more motivation for them to think for themselves and to think about the topic and red flags. And I mean, we had some specific events about red flags during that time, but sometimes we just took the box with us, like with no context, but there are always people that are more interested and ask, and and I think it was very well done. It was very compact. We could take it with us, and as there was no limit, I was also really curious because we didn't know what people were writing. So it was completely anonymous. I mean, some of them they told us because they were starting talking. And yeah, but then I was also really interested about the outcome.
And your collaboration started a little bit earlier in the last winter when we had our first open call. Can you tell us why did you submit it as a duo, which is quite not usual? This year we had 130 submissions, and I think there were like 5 duos that were submitting. So can you tell us about your process together? Why do you work together for this project? Why did you choose the red flags as a focus, just the very beginning of it?
So we knew each other with Anna. I will start there. We knew each other with Anna. We were matched for an exhibition which happened 2 years ago, approximately 2.5 years ago, and we didn't know each other. And there are certain bridges in our practices, such as similarities, but we're doing broad, like many different, like we're both working in different areas and in different mediums. So the outcome, we were both very happy with the outcome of the duo exhibition, knowing the fact that we didn't know each other, and we come up with everything in few weeks, like I think in a month. And everything worked well in our communication, and I think ever since then there was always an idea to work on something together. And then Anna approached me like with about, like, she shared about the open co, and she proposed if it's possible to work again together and to do it. And so I got on board, and we applied like 1 year ago, and exactly 1 year
ago.
Which is, it feels, to be honest, surreal, because time flies in one way, but like in another hand, it's also like it seems like the whole process and everything going through the months, the whole work. So like we got selected in February, and then we started working on the project intensively, I think around springtime through the summer to the opening of the exhibition, which was last week.
And because you asked about why the red flags, because we were discussed before, like because of the open call, that there are quite a few number of projects that are already about what happened, but not so much about the prevention and the very baby steps, the first steps of the possible femicide, how everything started and where and when. So, and red flags, it's a very common term, like not only in relationship but in other types of situations. And nowadays, because of TikTok and social media, it's start to be very used, and we also wanted to approach the topic in not a very cliche way. So even during the process of selection, we tried to give room also to the not so common behaviors, because in some campaigns that at least I already saw, some of them, they talk always about the same type of behaviors. And if a woman look at them and maybe just identify with one of it or none of it, might think, okay, maybe my relationship is not that toxic or abusive. But in fact, it can be, because the spectrum, and that's also why the name of the exhibition, the Toxicity Spectrum, can be very wide. It's not, it doesn't stay only with with the most common ones. And we also wanted to raise the awareness in this not so talked red flags. And we received a lot of participations, and all of them very different, even in the same category, very different. And we, even after we make the trial of them, we have to categorize them to be easier to select. So I can say that most of the sentences are about control and manipulation, especially nowadays because of social media and with the phones. This is very common. And also, controlling, and then the manipulation and gaslighting, they are like the biggest categories of the red flags that we got. And we also got some about job, when the job that a woman does is always take less in consideration than the guy, and this type of comments are made by the partners towards the women. So yeah, we try to go a little bit beyond what is more common.
Yeah, I think it was a very good choice to take the red flags, and I think it's something every woman, or actually everyone, can relate to. It's not that gender-based, I think, because everyone who is dating or in a relationship reads the small papers in the display, and everyone has made some kind of experience.
Yes.
So often when we think of the violence against women or gender-based violence, we think of the physical violence. That's the red flag number 8, the darkest one you have in your room. It's about physical violence. You have associations to blood, to a crime scene, maybe a femicide, but violence begins very subtle. There are also different forms of violence. Maybe Leni, you can tell us something about the not that visible forms of violence.
Yeah, and because you asked before, I think the awareness for this has risen. I mean, actually in every community, in every bubble. So beside physical violence, there is psychological, emotional violence, social violence, cyber violence, cyber crime, and also very important economic violence. So this is also a really big problem, I think. And this is also a matter why so many women are not leaving the situation, because they just cannot afford it, beside many other barriers why they wouldn't. So talking about red flags and a form of like subtle violence, I think in our work, or in my experience, what happens a lot is isolation. This is something that happens slowly, sometimes not. Sometimes it's really like clear from the beginning, no, you will not go to work and so on. But this happens slowly, and you can see it really in all in all kind of relationships that this is happening, and I think it's very dangerous and manipulative. Yeah. So and cyber violence is like growing. It's very difficult because it has different forms. I experienced in the workshops with younger people that it's very common to control each other, and it's like a sign of love and trust that you track the other person and share all the passwords and so on. This is very irritating, and it was really hard to work with them because they were so like, trust is good, but control is better, and they were like it wasn't possible to talk about. We were talking about it. Maybe it did something, but they were really like, all of them were like signing this statement. So, yeah.
Maybe it's a Sorry, maybe it's a good time to go to questions from the audience, if we have any. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if it's more than a question, it's just a reflection that there's like a part of me that hates the idea of red flags because it kind of puts the responsibility usually on the woman to see and to do kind of like the prevention and see the risk, see the weird behavior. And I think prevention is more effective if it focuses on the men, because they're the ones that are committing these femicides and this violence and this crime, and it's kind of like, okay, where have we gone wrong? That the men are perpetrating all of this violence. And what you just mentioned now, Magdalena, it's particularly important with teenagers nowadays and younger people, because there's kind of like these, especially kind of like reaching the young men and the young boys, and either through education or the awareness directing it towards them, not to become these type of men, I would say. I don't know, there's no question.
Yeah. Can I add? Can I just add something?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course you're right, but I think like to work with these red flags and the content is like gaining, it makes it possible to gain awareness to everyone, also to myself. When I mean, when I'm working on this issue, sometimes I realize, okay, what I did was toxic. So I think also when, I mean, you have to, men have to look at the red flags, but from this they can also learn. I think if you, they can share the experience, they can, yeah. I think it's very important, and also what you mentioned, the work with young boys and young men. Yeah, but I think this concerns everyone, and I don't think particularly that the, like, knowing about red flags and the content is only about women. I don't know. Because it's also very, I mean, the surrounding, the friends, the family, they can be really helpful, and if they are aware, they can see stuff the woman is not even thinking about. This is also very important, because you can see it much easier if you're not the person in the relationship, but if you're outside. So.
I have two questions. One would be in the participatory part. How many men filled the red flags? How many men participated in the activity? And if in your organization, Magdalena, if you have activities or work or concepts that center the men in this topic.
About the red flags, I don't know, because at the events I have been, I have not seen a man filling it out, and it's anonymous. So I think, and it was for women only, I think.
Yeah, it's important to be mentioned that it was for people who identify as women. So that's the first thing, and that was like, therefore, like Anna was mentioning, it's like from us, like made for, yeah.
So maybe to be more clear, so the name of the space where the exhibition was made is FRAU, schafft. So the projects are about women,
Yeah,
and
we
for
have women in
women, but also
focus.
for the other public, that also for men, of course, be more aware in this type of situations. So that's why we focus on women. And I even discussed once with Zhanina, like maybe the next step of the project will be gender neutral. But for this specific case, because for FRAU schafft we focused on women, but we don't want to say like women should understand the red flags. No, we use the topic red flags because it's a topic that it's very, like very wide nowadays on the internet, and it's a term for it. It can also be called warning signals. But so yeah, and. But the people who could participate could be victims of abusive relationships, but also not. All the women could give a sentence that they consider can be a red flag. So in this way, they are also aware other women and also aware other people, other genders. So this is a public project. It's to aware everybody, but it was an internal work from women to women. So that's why we were more focused on women. Probably in the future, if the project continues on, we can specifically target on relationship and on people. So don't. But I attended some events from Stop, and Stop. It's, I would say, gender neutral, because I saw men participating in the workshops as well about red flags. And for me, it was very interesting participating in one of the workshops with men, because I could hear some preconcepts being demystified that some men had. So I would say that Stop, it's very neutral gender. So it's very, of course, maybe some events are more specific for women, but it's with the intention to aware everybody and to deconstruct also the patriarchal impose that it's still on women, because a lot of women were, and women still nowadays, growing up with a patriarchal education, and sometimes there's this this how can I say, stigma, of sharing it, and also some women being hard to other women about some things, and being okay and justifying some behaviors made by men, but this is because of how we all are educated. So I think it's also important, these woman-to-woman projects, and to demystify, and to if they are in a toxic or abusive relationship, maybe some signs can occur because of the what they read in the project. But as we discussed, these signs can be so little, so subtle, and then there's the process of gaslighting that makes everything blurry and confused to observe. So that's why the awareness and other people from outside to help and to make things more aware.
I would like also to mention something in particular about the sentences which we collected and which are like the ones that are exhibited. They're so universal, which I find like one of the super significant, and it says a lot, because they're not just universal, like they can be heard, I think, in different countries, different nationalities, different, like, and also about the age. You can't tell, like, and maybe some of them you can tell that maybe the woman was like maybe older or younger, but actually not really. Like they can be they can be experienced by women different ages, in different households, different situations. And I think that's exactly one of the important points also what we're trying to reach with our project, that this is happening everywhere to a lot of people, to more than what we expect, and it's often about exactly this stigma of even sharing to even close people or family, and like this private struggle, oh, is that okay or not, or like, okay, maybe I will excuse this one time, to actually the next happening. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit not direct to the point what you mentioned, but like I think it's still, yeah, it's to give exactly this awareness, because yes, it's important, like, and also some of these red flags also can be said by the way, by women to men, to be honest, like what some of the sentences. So it's like, yeah, it's to reach like broad awareness and not to preach or teach.
Yes, we have men's work. We have men's group, and yeah, we also have 3 male co-workers. But it's important to say that it's feminist men's work. It's not a self-help group for abusers or something, because sometimes this is mistaken, and you know what I mean.
Any other questions?
Actually, I'm curious about the selection process. You mentioned it earlier that you didn't take all the notes, but which one couldn't make it and which one you chose?
All of the sentences, they are presented in the space, but because of reasons of the size of the space, we wanted to include 8 red flags was the maximum that fitted there, so 8 sentences for the big textile. And we tried to take like 1 from each category, because we then group them into categories like job, isolation, controlling, manipulation. So we tried to take 1 from each, and it was a very hard process, because all of them were very, very strong. And we want also to not go for the red flags or the sentences or the warning signals that are mostly talked about. So we wanted to be more diverse, include also signs that are not so talked. So yeah, but all the sentences are included, and we wanted to be very clear about it. They are in the space, they are in the showcase outside. And unfortunately, just because of logistic reasons, we couldn't put everything inside the exhibition room. We, of course, thought about different solutions, but they were not working out. And we also thought that it will be interesting for the viewer to have contact with the real objects, with the real handwriting of the participants.
Yeah, it's a very hard situation at FRAU schafft Raum, because we only have 4 square meters. It's a very small space, and in front of the glass door there are 4 square meters for the visitors, and it's not easy for the artists to handle that. So I think you made a good choice by saying, okay, we have an idea and we put it to FRAU schafft Raum, and it's very hard to come with an finished concepts and finished artworks to this room, because it's very difficult to handle. Zhanina, are you thinking, do you want to add something? Okay. Any other questions? Another one, yeah.
But do you also remember, those were 8 sentences for the big flags, right? And do you remember those sentences, or can you give an example?
Do you have your phones here?
Unfortunately, I haven't seen the exhibition yet, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, so yeah, because there was so many, so many even in the.
While Zhanina is searching,
for the textile.
Just do it, and you already seen it somewhere at the photos that the colors are changing, that there is a light pink on the left side when you look into the room, and the dark red color on the right side. And while Zhanina is searching, I want to say that you all recognize it when you go there to have a look at the exhibition, that the artists colored the flags by their own. They colored the fabric and had a messy time with that. And you can also see that in the photos of the background somewhere, you see the dyeing process of that. Yeah. So we are our own technical support. But Anna and Zhanina are better with their iPhones than I am. So, Zhanina, you have it?
For example, the one that we put as below, like not below, but like number one. Geht durch. They're all in German, by the way. Geht durch eine stressige Phase. Ist nicht immer so. Einberufung für Lehrende, denen erzählt, dass die Frau labil, verrückt und Problem sei. That's number 2. Number 3, wenn man die Partnerin immer von Freundinnen zum Beispiel wegen ihrem Beruf klein macht. That was 3. Number 4, du musst abnehmen, ich möchte eine dünne Freundin. Number 5, du kannst froh sein, dass du jemanden wie mich hast. Then number 6, du warst nicht bei deiner Freundin, du warst bei deiner Lover, gib zu. Number 7, du gehörst mir. And number 8, körperliche Gewalt oder Androhung von Gewalt, ich mach dich platt.
Thank you, Zhanina. Are there some more questions? If not, I would ask you some questions again. Or do you want to? Yeah? Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
So from my experience, or from what I see, these sorts of talks and these sorts of exhibitions, they usually attract people who already have a lot of interest in gender-based violence or already have an awareness of such an issue. And I was just asking about maybe perhaps your experience or your challenges in, although Anna, you said the location of the exhibition is good because you can attract almost anyone. But I was just wondering about your experience, any challenges or experience working with people who actually don't have an interest in such issues or really no awareness, and if they can really access these spaces or these talks, for example.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people that are coming by FRAU schafft Raum are very interested in art or in violence against women, but they are just locals and are looking, there's something new, and are asking what is going on there. And so we get in contact with them, and some of them know that tobacconist Nadine, and they have their own stories about her and are telling us, oh, she was such a nice woman and stuff like that. And so it's very easy to talk about all that with the people, and you also experience that with the people passing by, but I don't think that they are art lovers or something like this, most of them. Some are, but very few.
During the setup, we had some contact with pedestrians, people that were passing in front of the exhibition room. And it was very touching because people were very interested not only in what we were setting up, because they start to see the flags and they were very curious about what it is, but a lot of people, they knew the space, what happened before, and even a woman that stopped with talking to you, she knew the other woman that died. So people, especially in the neighborhood, they are very attached with the space because they know the story and they even knew personally the person who died. So, and they were even saying it's very interesting what the district did. They really did a good job in transforming it into a memorial, not only for the victim but also for other women that are victims of femicide. So yeah, and we had a very interesting feedback because when you start to develop this type of participatory projects, you never know the outcome, the engagement, and we were very surprised that a lot of people engaged. And personally, when I was giving away the flyers, because the QR code for the online form was in the flyers, the reaction of the women were very positive. They were happy. I saw some light in the eyes, like, oh, there's a platform where we can share something that we experience, or from a friend that we know that went through a abusive or toxic relationship. And even men, they were very interested and moved by the projects, and then during the opening we also had very positive feedback about the topic and about the exhibition, and I think people, I don't know, I had the impression that they needed a kind of a stage to talk about it, but in a private way. And for me it's very, especially in the last sentence, which is the most strongest one, where there's already a physical aggression. I'm wondering if the person even reported this, because this is a paper, if the person reported or not, or if it's still in that situation. So that's my thoughts.
I would say to the question that really during the weekend when I, like apart the setup what Anna mentioned in the opening, like during that one time when I was like last weekend there on a Saturday, within 15 or 20 minutes, 3 people engaged while I was there. Like one of the street I could hear a man telling the story of the tobacco of the place in English to another man. Then a lady came and she just started talking to me, and then I shared with her that I'm one of the artists, and then she just started sharing some stories about a friend of hers and that she's being moved by the project, and then a lady with 2 kids. So I would say that for me that's like a pure example that within 15 to 20 minutes, like the diversity of the people who stopped by the place. And the fact that it's like, it's not exactly like it's an exhibition space. Now it looks like an exhibition space, but it's not just an exhibition space. It's exactly a place of remembrance. It's like memorial. We talked during the opening that it has somehow the spirit a little bit of like a chapel of a church, because exactly that a person can go, but it doesn't bring you, like it doesn't remind you so much like thinking of God or anything else, but just the spirit of a place where you can go freely without being interrupted by anyone. Nobody's there to tell you about the project and to talk to you, or you're just there, you read about it, you can then Google about it if you want, there's the QR codes and then information, and you can just think about it, what happened, you can read about the story of the place, and it's just a place, it's through art projects, you're reaching another goal, because exactly it's important to be said that we're not therapists, psychologists or sociologists which are dealing with these issues. That's an art project, through an art form we're bringing this awareness to the table, because there are for sure other projects, more specifics, which are dealing with this, and exactly then there's the organizations and NGOs as stop. But like in an art form, this is, of course, then something different. And through the space, I think the space gives a really good platform, and
Yeah, I also think that the mixture is making the space so attractive. So you have the architectural design of Laura Frediani, who did a very great job with this burnt out shop. Then you have the arts, which is changing every 2 months or so. And of course, we also have a cooperation with a help service. Stop is in one NGO with the Women's Helpline and with the Women's Help Chat, and with FRAU schafft Raum we have a cooperation with the Vienna Women's Emergency Call Center, stuff like that, Frauennotruf Wien, which is also very important, and we have the number of the Frauennotruf on every flyer, on our website, in the room, so it's very easy to catch if you need support like that, and I think that's very important. And through the changing exhibitions, we always get some new attention of the people that are passing by daily. That's all about that's very important for all that. Yeah.
I just want to ask, because you were just talking about that it's an arts project, so in fact it's not a documentary, a participatory documentary. So can you describe a little bit, besides the participatory project, how you went about the arts part of it? So how did this, I mean, you decided on the red flags very early in the project, but how did this, the art part evolve?
So,
what is art?
yeah, now, yeah. So, okay, I will talk about a part that I think we did not talk yet about the textiles of the flags, which was a handmade process, very well done also by Zhanina. And so, and what it represented, because they look like crime scene textiles, so because they look like blood and there's this stain, so there's all of this process of getting in touch with the material and with the pigment and to create this certain type of erasing the proofs when you clean the blood with the textile. So there's also this connection, and also we thought the work more as an installation, and for us the important part was to I mean, how can we raise the attention of people that are passing on the streets? So we wanted to give the big impact to the flags, so it's more visible, and then the textile, so people can read from outside the sentences and create this correlation with the physical objects. So, yeah, I would say we thought about the artwork as a total, as a group of works, yeah, the red flags, the big red flags in the space was something that we already stated since the beginning. This will be like the main focus, the main objects, and the gradation. This was also important to us, this conceptual spectrum, and these invisible layers between the behaviors. So that's why also the flags are semi-transparent. You can see a little bit through each flag. And also then, during the course of the project, we try to engage as much as we can with the space and take advantages of the structures, and that's why also we ended up putting the sentences on this showcase of outside. So there's somehow two stages that you can see the exhibition, from the facade, from the outside with this showcase, and then inside the space. So there's this kind of double layer of communication with the viewer. Yeah, but that's how we conceptualize everything, and this is a site-specific work. So we did it in specific for FRAU schafft, which means that maybe in the future, if we apply to other space, or if we invited to other space, maybe we have to adapt to the reality that we are dealing with. So yeah, that's how we thought in the artist way of approaching the topic.
Yeah, I would really love to see an installation somewhere else, maybe indoors when you can walk through it or stuff like that. If there are not any more questions, I would come back to ask you questions too, and especially Leni, but if you don't want to answer, I will go right to the source. Because we are here today in Neubau, and FRAU schafft Raum is a project in Alsergrund, as we all know now. And I wanted to ask you, because we are coming to an end of this event very slowly, what has Stopp planned in these two districts? You are active here since September, and I really would like to know that. But you have two jokers here, I know it.
Yeah, we have Fernanda from
Yeah.
the 9th district.
Eva, maybe just pass the microphone to Fernanda, and she will tell you
Yes.
what is going on in
Hello.
Alsergrund.
Okay, in Alsergrund we are planning a theater workshop. The theater workshop would during 2 months, but there's not exactly planned anything yet. It's just I have to plan to organize it. And also my idea is to plan a podcast workshop, and yes, and at the 2nd of December we had a writing workshop, and then someone came to me for the idea of a podcast workshop, and I think it's a very good idea, and I'm going to work it out. Yes, but I don't have any dates for the next year. I have to plan and organize it. Yes.
Okay, we will have a look what the future brings. And now I go to Salome, which is responsible for Stopp activities in Neubau.
Yeah, actually, it's such a pity because we also just had a theater, or we hosted a theater about domestic violence last week. But we do have an event on Friday at just around the corner at Platz der Menschenrechte on 5 p.m. And it's a public event, and it's important for us to be public because we also want to address also passengers and people walking by, because we want to remember all the women who have been killed this year. And of course there will be speeches and stuff like that, but we also have this performative part where we want to place shoes or pairs of shoes on the street, 27 pairs of it, because each pair of shoes represents a woman who has been killed. And yeah, it would be super nice to see some of your faces there. And also we were actually planning on doing more artsy and cultural stuff here in the 7th district, but yeah, we need money for that, and obviously we didn't get it because we applied for it, but we are applying for it again next year, and we hope to get more funding, and then we will have we were more thinking like doing more public craftivism stuff. For example, we had this idea about doing public knitting, or the working title is Knitting Against Domestic Violence. So yeah, hopefully will be more events to come.
Thank you so much. And also thank you for recommending the situation about the finances at Stopp. But there's no politician here to hear it, but maybe on the live stream are some politicians who take care of it. Okay, and now the last question for you. We already heard that there are the 16 days against gender-based violence, and I would like you to ask you what are your recommendations for the days we have left? Are there some artists that are working the whole year on these topics that you want to tell us about? If you don't have any, I start.
That one is tricky because I have so much to do in the moment with Stopp and all the stuff that I kind of don't know what is going on elsewhere. Can I have a little moment for self-advertisement?
Of course.
So this flyer, there's a QR code in the back. It's over there. This is a installation at the library in Meidling at the Bücherei Philadelphia Brücke. And you can listen there to an audio piece, an audio play from Rachel Müller, who was also taking
That's
part.
cool. That's what I wanted to recommend.
At FRAU schafft Raum, and that's how we met, because she lives in Meidling, and now we have another girl, so the three of us, we kind of did this, and you can see it until Tuesday, but also you can take this and listen to it at home. It's a very good one. Yeah, but you can also come to see Feminism What the Fuck in Meidling. Here's the flyer. So this is my part of, 16 days, data.
Yeah, I just want to tell you that this audio piece that we have heard at the second exhibition of FRAU schafft Raum, which was our last duo exhibition before yours, from Daniela Drinkel and Rachel Müller. This audio piece is actually based on a theater play, and this theater play had the premiere in Schauspiel Essen, which is a big theater in Germany, and I'm very happy about that, and I hope you will see the play also in Vienna very soon. That's what I wanted to tell you. But now your recommendations, please, if you have any. If you don't have any and are too shy to tell, we can go on. Doesn't matter.
Actually, the event you mentioned, I was about to mention, because it popped up a lot from the program. I follow the program Stop, and yeah, it was already mentioned, so I have much to add.
So you see, that's a very, very great event, and you should all go there.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and we also were so absorbed in the preparation of that, at least I told myself I couldn't keep up that much with the 16 days, like what's happening around. But I know that a lot is happening, so keep up with the Stop program, and also in the future with the upcoming program from FRAU schafft, and yeah.
Okay. Now we are at the end of our dialogue, and I'm very happy that we had the chance to be here at Depot. Thank you, Eva, again, and I am very happy that you were all here and asked a lot of very good questions. And also thank you to my dialogue partners. It was a pleasure to work with you and to talk with you today. And I think we will also have time to stay a little bit here and talk about this or that in a very comfy mode with a drink or something. And yeah, thank you very much for being here.
And I to just wrap up the talk, I think I can talk by us. We really want to thank all the participants of the project, because without the participation, the project was totally meaningless. So we want to thank you so much to all the participants, all the brave women who shared with us, anonymously of course, but they were brave enough to share their insights. And also we want to thank Anna a lot for having us in the space. It was a very amazing journey, and also thank you so much to Stop, because without their help also the project couldn't be materialized in most of it, because a lot of the sentences came from Stop, and please keep up with this type of initiatives like Stop and other initiatives that help women, or all the public that they help to prevent violence and to help the victims, because most of them, they are non-profit or they have little support. So it's very important to feed them with our attention and participation, so they can keep up with a good job and they still existing, and make them also loud and visible. So yeah, thanks so much to all the women that help us with the project, to the courage, and yeah, that's all. Thank you. And thanks Depot for having us here, and to all the people that were interested in hearing us today, and maybe visit the project and keep up the tracking FRAU schafft, because they have also a very nice program. Thank you.